At the end of August 1987, I came off of the ferry over there, stepped straight onto this beach with my two friends, and we hiked up along here looking for a place called Sunflower Bungalows. Now, Koh Samui back then was a mind blower. You know, I was from England, my family had never really gone away abroad on holidays, and I could think of nothing more different than the idea of a tropical island. And the first trip I took to Thailand was actually about 3 months in length, and the place I was really looking forward to coming to was here, Koh Samui. My first thoughts are it's still a nice looking beach. You know, in essence it still looks the same. I can see a few gaps where obviously a lot of the trees have been chopped down. It'll be interesting to see when I get to the other end, which is where the group of bungalows was that I used to stay in, Sunflower Bungalows. It looks to me like that might have been changed a bit more heavily. And I think this is just about the location where Sunflower Bungalows was. It was just a collection of the kind of like thatch type bungalows they had that were like 40 baht per night, and they had little open restaurant area, sociable area, all very cheap, all very chilled. I would dare say that this place is a lot more expensive than 40 baht per night. We used to come down here, and when the tide was in, obviously that reef over there is submerged, and it was a fascinating place. I used to go out there with the snorkels. You could see all the angelfish, all the parrotfish. I saw a sea snake over there. I used to have a brilliant time, and I just remember I was getting good at it, you know, to the stage where I could keep my head below the surface, just use a snorkel to breathe, you know, even when I was on the surface. And I just remember that I heard this noise, sounded like static electricity, and I started looking around under me to see what could be there. Nothing. And then I lifted my head up, and what had happened is, in like the 10 minutes since I'd last stuck my head up, a tropical storm had moved in, and all the palm trees along here were blowing backwards. So what I thought was static electricity was just like the raindrops hitting the water. So on that first visit to Thailand in 1987, I mean, we spent absolutely weeks here. We just loved it. It was the life, you know, just get up early in the morning, go and eat breakfast in the communal area, come down here, do a bit of snorkeling. Once in a while we'd all get on a motorcycle and ride into town. I remember that we used to go into Nathon, go to the fruit market and get loads of fruit, because we were living so cheap. I mean, I don't think they were making any money out of us, you know. We were just buying, like, at one point I can remember ordering like plain fried rice, just rice fried in oil, nothing with it. And we'd be adding bits of pineapple to it and that, you know, like, we didn't have a lot of money. Our budget for the whole trip was 273 baht per day. And we had to take everything from that, so you can imagine how tight it was getting towards the end. I lost a lot of weight, I remember that. If you look at some of the pictures, I'm very skinny. Now, I can remember at Sunflower Bungalows, they used to have these 2 jars of cookies. one lot were 5 baht, the other lot were 10 baht. And one day myself and Adam and Doreen helped ourselves to some of the 10 baht ones, and that was absolutely crazy night. All I remember is being chased down this beach here by a giant luminous crab. this area here, there used to be a group of bungalows called Influ Palace, which was where we started staying when Sunflower Bungalows closed about 1990. Now, one of the owners was a real old boy, one of the original Samui people, you know. And at that time, all in the newspaper, there were a lot of problems, you know, people were getting murdered, there was a lot of criminality. And that was because the first time in the island's history, there was big money changing hands, you know, the big hotel chains were showing interests, and land prices were rocketing, and some dodgy things were going on. And I remember having a conversation with this old Samui boy, and he told me what the root of the problem was. He said that traditionally, all the families would grow their fruit and they grow their coconuts, and that was it. Now, when the elder of the family, you know, the senior figure of the family, was getting too old to look after the land himself, he'd allocate it out to his sons. Now, the son that he saw as the most prosperous, the one that had worked the hardest, he gave the most valuable land to, which was the land at the foot of the mountains inland, because, you know, it had all the minerals were washed down by the rain, so they could grow anything they liked there. And so it went out until it got to his least favourite son, who'd get the useless beach land. All he could do was grow coconuts. So he said that in one generation, all of the most valuable land on Samui came under the control of the worst families in Samui. My mate Mike used to sit on one of them stubs there. He used to sit there with a bottle of Singer. And I can remember one afternoon on my first visit here, myself and Doreen had walked down from Sunflower Bungalows, and we went over to these rocks over here, and we scrambled up them a bit. I seem to recall it was a bit less overgrown then. We were climbing up, and I remember on the way up, I saw these huge ants. They looked like the biggest ants I'd ever seen in my life, these big red ants, and they were just on the ground and kind of ignoring us, so we just ignored them. And we went further up the hill, and then on the way back down, I just looked down at my feet, and all of these big red ants had suddenly decided to attack me. So they were attacking my shoes, some of them had bitten into my socks, and a few of them had got on my legs, and one of them, these big red pinchers, was pinching my skin so hard that it actually drew blood. And I remember I kind of freaked out, and I ran and jumped down them rocks and ran into the sea and was trying to get all these ants off. Well, it's good to be back. I mean, it's still a beautiful beach in its own way. It's kind of strange, you know, I thought there'd have been more development going on here, but, you know, there's places have disappeared and some places have sprung up, but it's not as built up as I feared it might be. Now this is and was Koh Samui post office all the way back then. And back in those days, there were no international ATMs, so if you needed money, you had to phone home and get somebody to arrange it, get it sent to a bank, and then collect it from a bank. And every evening, this place would be full of youngsters sitting there with a girl next to them, and they'd get their 3-minute call home, which was 180 baht. I mean, that would be quite a lot for a 3-minute phone call even today. And it would literally be connect you through, start timing you, and then as soon as the 3 minutes was over, that was it. It would just get cut. So of course it was full of these young blokes with the girls and saying, well, yeah, mum, yeah, quickly, yeah, please, yeah, take these bank details. Yeah, you'll send it today, won't you? You'll send it today. Better known as Grandfather Rock and Grandmother Rock. Grandfather Rock. So we used to ride the bikes down here from Sunflower Bungalows, about 18 kilometres, to have a night out in Lamai. And the main road, which was just single carriageway in them days and didn't have all the buildings on the side, just out in the middle of nowhere you'd see this sign saying the lower resort, and then it would direct you down here, which in those days was 100% dirt track. I mean, it was actually quite treacherous, you know, if it was wet. And this place, Amadeus, this was also one of the original places that was here in 1987. And And the Lower was one of the original resorts in Lamai. In fact, I can remember that when you used to come around from Sunflower Bungalows, you know, from the other side of the island, when you had to divert off the main perimeter road, you'd see the sign for a Lower and you turn off there. And I think there used to be a group of bungalows here in 1987, and I used to see a girl who lived there called Doreen, and she was, you know, we had quite a thing going. You know, when I went back to England, we'd be writing letters, and I spent quite a bit of time with her. And I think I probably sent her a little bit of cash once or twice, you know, and everything in them days was snail mail. You know, you used to send letters, and you'd get an airmail letter back if you was lucky. There'd be a couple of pictures in it. And I just remember it was like a year between my first trip here and my second, and we kept in contact. And just before I was going to go back, I got the Dear Johnny letter, you know, like, oh, I've met this other guy, a German guy, and whatever. And anyway, it ended up like kind of like a race between me and him to get here. And he beat me back here by a day. But I did sort of see her briefly, and we sat and had something to eat. And that was the end of that, except for 11 years later, or 12 years later, in 1999, I was drinking in the Best Friends complex in Pattaya with a friend. And I saw somebody keep staring at me, and I thought, I wonder why she keeps staring at me. And she spoke to one of the girls behind the counter who come up and said, what's your name? And I said, it's Karl. And she went back to this woman and said my name, come back and said, do you remember Doreen? I said, yeah, sure, 1987 Koh Samui. And she said, that's Doreen there. So I went over and had a chat with Doreen, which is, it really kind of surprised me that she'd remember me after that long. And she said that she'd married the German guy, and they were there together, but he just nipped out to the shops or something. So anyway, when he come back, we all went out together in a group. You know, we had a great night, and I've got a picture of us on that night that I'll find and I'll post up on this video. We're walking down there. I mean, it's not totally unrecognisable. Certainly there are a lot more buildings around, and now all the roads are paved. But on this section, I've still got my bearings. You know, I can still just about remember where the places I used to hang out are. And back in the 80s, all the roads in Lamai were just dirt track, you know. And I remember this corner here was where I took a picture of my friend Mike. I think it was the first picture I ever took of him in Thailand. He used to get very drunk, and he used to be kind of double jointed. He used to be able to do this funny walk on his knees. I've still got a picture of him do it. I'll find it and I'll put it up. And I can remember in 1987, this place behind me now, Thirsty Vikings, used to be a little Thai run restaurant, and we used to come in here partying every night. Of course, it was like an 18-kilometre journey from Sunflower Bungalows. So sometimes we'd ride a bike in here. Sometimes we'd get a songtail. You know, they used to get songtails that would go around the island. They take you anywhere for 10 baht, I think it was. But one night I missed the last songtail. And we were sitting having a drink in the restaurant that's behind me there, and the lady who owned it just sort of said, oh, it's all right, like, you can stay here tonight, you know, because we'd missed the last songtail. So I can remember spending the night there, and then in the morning I heard the songtail shout, and he used to shout, "Tuang, tuang, Nathon, Nathon," you know. As I heard him, so I remember sort of like running, putting on my clothes, and running out after the songtail. And I remember the lady running out saying, "When you come back, Karl? When you come back?" This place behind me now, Shamrock Irish Pub, that used to be the location of Flamingo House. At one time, Flamingo House was the only nightclub on Koh Samui. I think a few years later it changed its name to Bauhaus. Now, during the first Gulf War, maybe just a bit before, it was like December 1990 and January 1991, this is where I met Tom, who is now my wife. I haven't got that many memories from that night. I can remember us dancing to New Year's Day by U2, so that's it, long time ago now. Other memories I've got from here, sort of before that, when I first started coming here, was that they were always playing Do It Again by Steely Dan here.